Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of the Intelligence Mod Pod. As always, my name is Bobby, and I am here to teach you everything that I know about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Now today we're going to be spending all of our time talking about each of the 16 skills in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and how often they come up, how we like to use them, and if we can break the rules a little bit with them. Now, before we get into that, we are going to talk about 2 of our common terms, just so you know the terminology that we're using once we get there. So the first thing I want to talk about is skill checks. Now, they're very similar to the ability checks that we went over last week. Whereas an ability check is very broad, very vague, a skill check is usually associated with an ability, and it's more specific. So if there's something very specific you're trying to do, odds are there is a skill check for it. So anytime you hear us say skill check, just know that, again, it's going to be a roll of a d20, adding the ability modifier, and then if you have any proficiencies with it, you'll add those bonuses as well. And speaking of proficiency, what is it? Let's talk about it. So proficiencies are just nice little bonuses that you're going to get just for being a certain level. So every class, every background, they each get specific skills that they are proficient with. Now, we're going to talk about each of those and how they're all kind of separated into who gets what once we get to these specific classes. But for now, just know that when we talk about proficiency, what it means is it's a little bonus you're getting because your character is a little extra good at it. So at level 1 through level 4, you're going to be getting a +2 to that skill roll anytime you roll it. It's just there, you just are +2 better at it than other people. Once you hit level 5 up to level 8, you're going to have a +3. From levels 9 through level 12, you're going to have a +4. From level 5 through level 16, from level 13 to 16, it'll be a +5. And from level 17 to 20, it'll be a +6. Now, if you want to see this chart in any of the player handbooks, it'll be underneath the classes table. So there's a nice little table that shows you kind of when they're getting things. So if you already have a class you're looking at, there'll be a proficiency bonus tab, and it'll show you all the way down to 20 what bonuses you're getting. I don't think they have an actual just proficiency table anywhere in the books, which they should, but they don't. Another thing I want to talk about is expertise. Now, expertise is the exact same thing as proficiencies, but it's better than being proficient. This, if you have expertise, you are going to be gaining double your proficiency bonus on that skill if you have expertise in it. Now, there's only a couple classes that get it, and there's a couple features that get it, and we'll talk about those once we get to classes and features. But just be aware that if you do hear us talk about expertise, it just means doubled proficiency. So with that in mind, Royal, would you like to introduce yourself to the group?
Hi, I'm Royal. I play Zada. I have been playing D&D since, 3.5, back when I was such a wee little kid in high school. My friend was also a big 1.0 fan player, so I've also played 1.0. That was a trip.
Goodness, did you ever dabble in, like, advanced D&D back in the day?
I did not. I did not get that far. It was just how my friends were playing. But my 2 friends that like to DM, one liked 1.0 a lot, and the other one liked 3.5. So I tried a little bit of both of those.
Excellent. No, the closest I've ever come to like first edition and advanced is that I own a advanced D&D player handbook, or it might even be the Dungeon Master handbook that I found at Goodwill once. But that's the closest I've ever gotten. THAC0 scares me, so I tend to try to run away from it because I don't know what any of it means.
I agree with that. THAC0 is a terrible thing. AC is negative, therefore the best.
Yes. I don't understand what's happening half the time. I just kind of was like, I'm just gonna... I think the first time I played, it was in a culinary school, and we played very, very loose 3.5, I think. But, like, we only had, like, one set of die, so we all were, like, just passing that one set back and forth.
Perfect.
So today we're going to be talking about I think there's 16 of the skills in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So we're going to combine these, not alphabetically, but based on what ability that they're linked to. So we're going to start things off with strength. So the only ability that we're going to be able to grab from the strength, or the only skill, is going to be athletics. So this check covers difficult situations that you may encounter while climbing, jumping, or swimming. I believe Zana has recent experience with some great athletic jumps. Tell us about that. How do you feel about athletic jumps?
Athletic jumps is kind of one of those things where I understand it takes effort, it takes strength to get that way, to get that distance, but it's one of those weird rules that it's really hard to tell how much you do with it, but yeah, I mean, it's fine. I play monk, so they get double jump distance, which is just kind of a thing that they do.
We love to hear it. I think also athletics is one of those skills that I feel like often gets, a really weird mix with acrobatics. Oftentimes It's like, hey, I want to jump up there, and your DM's like, roll athletics, and it's like, but if I do a flip, can it be acrobatics?
That's true. It's one of those things. It's like, I think it could be interchanged either or, because it's like you can use strength, you can understand that strength to be used, but also if you are a very dexterous person, you could do it a different way. There are obviously certain occasions where you can only use one or the other, but I feel like it's one of those abilities that can be interchanged quite easily. Absolutely. Depending on how you do it.
From all of my experience in Dungeons and Dragons, I feel like that's one of those that, like, ask your DM. If you want to do cool stuff, as we discussed last episode, rule of cool reigns supreme at most tables. So absolutely ask. But the general understanding of it is athletics goes up and acrobatics goes down. So if you question it, just know if you're going up, odds are it'll be athletics unless your DM lets you do otherwise. If you're going down, it'll probably be acrobatics. But with that, there are a couple of things we can do outside of what's written just in the skill page. These are things like escaping from a grapple or running really, really fast when you're out of combat and trying not to fall flat on your face to catch someone. These are a couple things that I have seen. Have you experienced those as well?
Yeah, like I said, there's a couple other ones, like, might be like you are doing a very laborious task, and that would require, like, in athletics checks to keep going with that, because you're putting your whole body through that type of, like, just a brutal hit.
Absolutely. How often would you say that you find this check being thrown at you?
Very rarely.
I also find it's very rare. I feel like you have to intentionally want to do the athletics check for it to actually show up. This is not one that I feel like we're going to be surprised with at any point, unless you're, like, running away from something and you happen to come across, like, a broken bridge you're trying to jump across. But, I mean, even then, you're going to see the bridge before the check is thrown at you. Overall, though, I think athletics is an alright skill. It's not one I generally gravitate towards.
I agree.
So, unfortunately for strength, that's the only thing that they're going to be getting that they can add their strength modifiers to check-wise. But then we come to dexterity. Dexterity gets a lot of fun ones. I feel like dexterity gets, in my opinion, the second best grouping of skills. And they're going to start off with acrobatics. So this is to see how well you can stay on your feet, such as, like, walking on ice or, again, jumping off of things and trying to land gracefully. This is another one I feel like it really doesn't get thrown at you unless you are the one initiating, usually.
Agreed.
And I would say, like, outside of what's written just in the skills, this is another skill that you can use to escape a grapple. So if someone is, like, grabbed onto you, you can do your little shimmy shake to get out of it. You don't have to just force your way out, which I think works better for most of my characters.
I think that's most characters, especially if you're a caster. You're not going to have, like, a big buff caster. Not usually. Not
usually, but let me tell you, I have seen some buff wizards, and it is the funniest thing I've ever seen. You look at them and you're like, why don't you just do Eldritch Knight? And they're like, because I want a full cast. And it's the funniest thing I've ever seen, but I wouldn't recommend it. Overall, though, yeah, this is a low one in my eyes. I don't really see this one being super used, but I will say that it's one of those that if it does get thrown at you and you fail it, you are going to be taking some good damage.
Yep, that's what I did. Also, it's I like to call acrobatics a parkour skill.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you want to do like sick wall runs or some nonsense, you're probably going to be doing acrobatics.
Yeah, this is used for all kinds of things to keep your balance. If you're trying to keep balance while doing some craziness, odds are it'll be acrobatics. The next skill that we have is sleight of hand. This is where I think dexterity gets really fun, because the next couple ones are just like the rogue supreme abilities. So sleight of hand is when you're attempting any act of like Ledgerman or a trickery such as planting something on someone or concealing an object. You would make a sleight of hand check. This right here is also, in my opinion, the most problematic skill in the game that gets parties in more trouble than any other skill I've ever seen. There's nothing quite like the rogue that just wants to steal absolutely everything.
Rogue or bard.
Or bard, yes. Bards love this as well. This is definitely one that both of these two, definitely enjoy taking, and I feel like the moment any player looks at their friend to the side and they see proficiency in sleight of hand, they know they're in for a little bit of trouble.
Definitely.
But no, I absolutely love this one. I feel like this is a skill that if you are initiating it, if you are a rogue, you are probably going to use this all the time, or a bard. This doesn't even have to be used to steal. This can be used in situations where, you're doing a magic trick with cards and you're trying to like make the card disappear or get a different card. Maybe you're trying to cheat in a poker game. This is what you're going to use to get that. Have you ever cheated in poker in D&D?
Have I ever cheated in poker? No, I didn't cheat in poker. I did cheat in roulette.
Oh, we love it.
I was like, I tried to like move my hand over the chips and I moved it over to the red. It's like, no, I was red the whole time.
How'd that go for you?
Actually, really well.
Oh, good.
No problem.
So outside of the rules, I have also seen, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but there are DMs out there that on top of, when you lockpick, on top of letting you use your proficiency, they'll also let you add sleight of hand proficiency if you have that. Now, that's not in official rules, but I know I run my tables that way because I feel like it's fun if people are like wanting to be this pick master. This is the only really way to like give them extra bonuses versus just proficiency.
Correct. Yeah. I see the same thing also with disarming traps is a big one. Yes, sleight of hand is definitely a good one for disarming traps. I also do it, some of my friends, like if you are trying to extract poisons or anything like that, sleight of hand is usually one that they use to like make sure that you don't, destroy the poison sac, or like
you mean like for instance if you're like trying to like you have like a snake or something and you're trying to get the venom into a bottle. That's so smart.
They usually use that, or like if you're trying to extract a specific organ or skin or anything from a particular monster that you just slain. Probably going to be sleight of hand, at least in my in mind.
I definitely think all of those things I would fit under sleight of hand. We might have like a nature check to know if the poison's there, but yeah, definitely sleight of hand not to poke yourself in the hand with that poison while trying to get it.
Poisoned!
Oh no!
Now make a medicine check to see if you can protect yourself.
I wasn't even in combat. The final dexterity skill is going to be stealth. This is another one that I feel like is so important. I feel like this is one that if you can get proficiency in it, you need to take it, because there is a 5 billion% chance at some point in your campaign you will be doing a stealth check.
This is why Zada now has stealth.
Absolutely.
Zada does now have stealth.
So stealth is literally just being sneaky and unseen. So this can be like just walking around. This can, in combination with sleight of hand, this can be like if you're in a shop and your friends are distracting someone. This could be you walking up to a shelf and pocketing something without being seen.
So I really like stealth in the thing is how well you can not be seen and how well you blend in.
Yes.
That's another one that my friends like to do. It's because, like, you can't really hide in the middle of, like, a lot of people in this shop, but you can be so blend in with everyone around you that you're not noticed.
Mm-hmm. I almost imagine this one being similar to, like, the negative of, like, a flat charisma roll where everyone notices you. This is, like, when you don't want to be noticed.
Yeah.
This, again, for rogues and bards, this is your bread and butter. Trickery clerics, we're coming for you. Also, I love a ranger with good stealth, especially when they pick up spells like Pass Without Trace that just really increases everyone around them stealth. It's so much fun to watch this almost like army of people just walk completely unseen.
It's always good unless you have that giant plateware that has that disadvantage, and then you go,
Yes. So, people who wear heavy armor, this is going to be a skill that you're not probably going to shine at, because you are going to have disadvantage with that, which means you're going to be rolling twice and taking the lowest. Good luck.
Yep.
I love when I have a full sneaky party, and then there's that one paladin or that one fighter that's just like clink clanking everywhere.
Like, that's when you use your silence spell. That's when your silence spell comes in handy.
Yes, silence, definitely. So as you see, there's plenty of ways to both use stealth and also cover people who aren't good at stealth. But this is a 10 out of 10 skill. You are going to use this all the time.
Yes.
There is
100%.
No way around it. There's no way of escaping it. Your DM will call stealth checks, and you'll probably hit at least 2 of them almost every other session.
Stealth is super important, and if you're a plateware, just stand still. Don't move.
Don't move.
Just freeze.
Don't do it, please. We don't want to get caught because of your chainmail wearing butt. So next we come to the absolutely amazing skill list of Constitution.
Woo!
Yes, we can insert, I wish I had like a soundboard, to get Willy Wonka where he's like, you lose, you get nothing. Cause that's essentially what Constitution gets. You get nothing. There are no skills for you here.
Nope.
But you get a shit ton of health with Constitution, so there you go, but...
Con is a very important saving throw, and it affects your HP, but that's it. Doesn't affect skills in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, you get nothing. But again, I would still recommend it be at least your third highest at the absolute lowest. You don't want to get caught without Constitution.
It is important.
Yeah, it's something it's strong. Please take it, even though it helps you none with skills.
Doesn't help with any skills, but it does help you keep with concentration.
Yes.
It does help you keep with poison resistances. Getting turned to stone, very important. Don't neglect your con.
Yeah, I had Kara on with me last week, and we had talked so much about the silly shenanigans you can do with con. And we're just like, when you're drinking a lot of alcohol, and I think I made the comment that oftentimes con saves aren't the most detrimental or terrifying, but story-wise, they're always the most fun. Because poisoning disease you don't really encounter a whole lot, but getting drunk you do. Because somehow in D&D, that's always where we end up.
It's always going to be that drinking contest to get information out of people. You got to do that.
Yeah, or like eating a lot, or, there's so much con can do for you. Please don't neglect it just because this list says it does nothing.
Yeah, maybe if you're like running a marathon, need your con. If you keep on going, if you're doing a chase, con is very important.
And I do have one skill check that I have seen people kind of rule of cool it into, and we'll talk about that when we get to charisma. So there is one that I've seen, but we'll talk about that in just a bit.
Did remember one last thing con does.
Oh, what?
That's how long you can hold your breath underwater.
Yes, we talked about that too. I have a controversial hot take for you that me and Kara talked about. I am of the firm belief that Constitution should be the spellcasting modifier of sorcerers, because their power comes from blood. How do you feel
I
about
agree,
that?
because we do not need any more fucking charisma casters.
We don't!
We don't need it. I agree.
There's so many...
I 100% agree with you on that one.
Yeah,
I do not see a problem with that.
I told Kara what I really want to see in the future is to have maybe one or two different spellcasting modifiers you can choose from when you make the character. You know, I think having even a bard, you know, if you're not like a social butterfly, but you're like, how many guitar players do we know that cannot navigate a social situation? You know, let him be a dex-based bard. That would be awesome to see a dexterity-based caster.
Yeah, maybe they're an emo poetry writing boy that just wants to have their, you know, I don't know, they're like their hair covered.
Yeah.
And they're like, just flip their hair. Like, oh my god, everything is terrible.
Yeah, we can snap for them after their performance.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so that's my hot take on sorcerers and Constitution. I 100% believe it should be their spellcasting modifier.
I agree. There are too many charisma based.
Yeah,
what we got.
We got 4.
We got. Yeah, so warlock, sorcerer, bard. Who's the last one?
Warlock, sorcerer, bard, and paladin.
Oh yeah, fuck. I don't like paladins. Hot take, don't like paladins.
This just in, Zada hates paladins. Watch out, Killian.
Watch out, Killian.
So moving on to intelligence. So with intelligence, the skills that are going to be modified by that modifier is, we're going to start with history. This is how well you can remember historical events or people. How often do you see this one?
So, my DMs like to do, if we can't remember something, they will make us do a history check.
Yes.
So if we're like, I don't really remember this, and then they'll be like, well, make a history check. So, and then you're like, you have like 0 in. You're like, this is not gonna go.
I don't remember anything.
I don't remember nothing. So I see this one can be kind of, can be used, especially if you want to know, like, historical events that have gone out in the world, or, like, there was, like, a civil war here. What do you remember about it? And stuff like that. That can show up, but I wouldn't say it's something that's, like, a lot. I would say it's probably, like, on the lower end, probably a medium scale, if you are a person that really would like to know everything that happened in the world.
Yeah, this is for you if you want to have been that book nerd who has studied history. Maybe you're a noble and, like, your parents have had you studying, like, different historical families or whatnot. That would be a great use of the history. But overall, I actually ranked it like a 3 out of 10 on usefulness, because I feel like it never really shows up unless you as a player forget something.
Yeah, unless, like, I've seen people use it to, like, if you knew the history of the nobles that you're going with and, like, how well you do it, you could be like, oh yeah, they did this thing and they were known for that, and then you can kind of, like, you could, like, butter them up so you could get, like, a advantage on, like, a persuasion check or something with them, because you're like, oh man, remember that time that you just destroyed all those guys? Man, you're cool. And they'll be like, oh yeah, thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and, like, not just for nobles, you can use this for many different factions to really just kind of grease the wheel and get yourself into a situation, or even just know, like, what their history is, if they're, like, a violent organization. So, I mean, it has its uses if you get creative.
Yes.
So maybe my 3 out of 10 was a little harsh. Maybe we could bump it up to, like, a 5. But I don't think I would go higher than a 5.
I would say it's really how well a player can apply it in certain situations to make it very useful. Otherwise, a DM is just going to be like, roll a history check to see what you know about this city, or what do you know about this magical artifact, or certain things like that. But if, as a player, if you take it into your own hands, you can really try to, like, bring out some good information for you and your party to, like I said, like go into figure out what these places are like, maybe like get some information or like help yourself, give yourself advantage on certain situations.
I fully support that. That is absolutely correct. This definitely gets stronger the more I struggle to say like experience you have as a player, but it kind of does feel that way. You know, the more you play and the more you learn, especially I think it's also very DM dependent. You know, if you have a DM that has all this lore and history already ready for you, they are going to be so thankful for you learning about their history, because then they get to tell about this world that they created.
Yeah. That's the real reason you get advantage. They're like, oh my god, thank you. I'm going to tell you everything about it.
Yes. Yes, there's nothing, and me and Kara talked about, you know, there's nothing worse than not having an intelligence character in your party, because you have so much you want to tell people, and then no one rolls high enough for you to tell them what it is.
Looks at our party.
Looks directly at the Knights of D20. I don't even know what our highest...
No.
I think 13 is our highest end.
I think so.
I want to talk about the irony of me being in a D&D group with no intelligence, and then I name my podcast Intelligence Modifier Podcast. It's like, obviously, I need the help. The next thing
it's just Marway and I are not dumb. We're just naive. We have not been into the real world.
We are wise people. You know, I would say we don't have intelligence. We have wisdom. We are very wise. We just don't know the book knowledge of all of this.
No. As we can tell with our episodes lately. We're like, what?
What is happening? So the next thing we're going to talk about is investigation. This is such a strong skill. I adore investigation. I feel like this opens so many doors for you. This is finding clues and hidden objects around. So this is like your ability to find, let's say you're looking for, let's say for instance, you're breaking into a house of a treasurer, and you are attempting to try and find papers that show that he is corrupt. You would probably roll investigation to find those papers. So without a good investigation, you could walk out completely empty-handed. So this is one that it's strong. I love it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It is a very important one. That's for finding paperwork that seems useful. Finding like for a ranger, it's kind of one of those interchangeable skills between survival and investigation. You can be kind of like, what happened during this fight and where did they go? And it's like, it's a kind of survival check, but it could also do an investigation check, depending like how you want to see, like, there's the footprints, this is what happens, this is how it goes. Or it could be a survival. You could be like, this, I see the prints in the mud, I can see the broken branches, this is where they went.
Yeah.
So investigation is good, and also if you're a rogue, investigation is what you're going to need to find those traps, buddy.
Ain't that the truth? Rogues, please take intelligence as a high stat. I know you don't have a spellcasting modifier unless you take a specific subclass, but rogues with good investigation is so strong. It's so good. It's so nice.
I would say it's probably interchangeable between charisma, depending on what kind of rogue you want to do. But I would say that intelligence for rogues is probably, for my personal opinion, that's my second highest.
Absolutely.
Because it is, you want to know, like I said, investigation is an incredible, important. History can be incredibly useful to a rogue. I just love intelligence. And it gives you, I think it also gives you the amount that your proficiency with, right?
Yes. If you are proficient in investigation, you do get the proficiency bonus and your intelligence modifier. So you're getting great bonuses right from the start. And again, rogues, you want this. You know, I feel like also once we get to wisdom, you want a little bit of wisdom too, because perception's going to help you a lot. But we'll talk about that in just a bit.
Yeah, you can also take some feats to help even out that if you don't want to do a high wisdom. That's why the observer feat is so good.
It's so good, and like I have a soft spot in my heart for the inquisitive rogue. I think it is so much fun to be just this, noticing everything, all the investigation points. Like, Are you super great in combat? Not really. I mean, you're as good as a base class rogue, you know, and you have features that you can use to get your sneak attack without having people next to them. But that's really all you get. But when it comes to outside of combat, using investigation is so much fun, and your group is gonna love you, because odds are no one else took intelligence.
It is very, very rare. So if you're going to be a dungeon delver or a person that's going to be trying to figure out certain things, finding things for your party, definitely get that investigation. Also, I don't know if you really want to talk about just like new feats and stuff like that for the 2024, but the observant feat, like I was saying, that in the new 2024 that's coming out, you can either choose investigation or perception for it, and then you can get the basically the what is it called, expertise with those.
We are going to delve into feats eventually. For those who don't know what feats are, they're little extra abilities and passive abilities normally that you get that around level 4 and 8. I think it's every 4 levels unless you're a fighter, in which case you're getting them all the time.
You just get thrown at you, so just be human. Just be human, fighter.
If you're a human, you get an extra one at level 1. But we'll get to those. We eventually will talk about every single one of the feats. We're gonna tell you how good they are or how bad they are, because there's some of them that are a doozy. There are some that are traps. Yeah. You don't want them. But investigation. I love how big of a tangent we can get off on investigation, because it's such a strong skill to have.
It is.
Were you aware, something you said reminded me of this, were you aware that intelligence is the highest dump stat? Like, that is the number 1 dump stat for D&D players statistically?
Really?
Yes. How crazy is that? And, like, have you ever done an intelligence saving throw? It's the scariest thing on the planet.
It's intelligence and charisma, the worst of the saving throws.
Charisma's gonna make you, like, tell the truth or something. Intelligence, you're just gonna die.
No, banishment. The bane of every fighter. Every fighter cries.
Me and Kara were, like, sitting there talking about charisma saving throws, and we're like, what are they? I'm like, I know Zone of Truth has one, but I thought Command was one, but it wasn't. That's Wisdom.
It's not, yeah.
And so we were just like, what is it? Yeah, banishment. But I mean, even still, that's like, it sucks, but it's not like an intellect devourer jumps into your brain and you die immediately from one saving throw. Saves scare the shit out of me so bad.
And you want that wizard with intellect fortress, please.
Please. Intelligence characters have high intelligence, so the intellect devourer can attack you instead of other people, and you have a chance of surviving. Because no one else
Watch
does.
all your friends die. Yeah,
everyone else will have a -1.
I'm just gonna throw that out there, just because if you've watched the new D&D movie with the intellect devourer, that's there, and it just passes the party, and they're just like,
it's just like, well, that's insulting.
It's like, yay, but
yeah,
no one's smart.
Everyone's
dumb.
They were a group of dum-dums, though. Let's be real.
They were.
I think my favorite thing about that movie, though, was Michelle Rodriguez's character, because I think she played,
love her.
She played a low intelligence character so well, because she wasn't just stupid. You know, she was just not the bright. That was great writing. She did great acting. Perfect. I loved her.
Loved her too. I loved the speak with, like, them being all dumb and then just not understanding the speak with dead, so they could just so many questions.
I feel like that was one of the realest.
Yeah.
Like, that situation is 100% real. That happens all the time.
Mm-hmm. Does that count as a question? Yes.
Next up, we're going to talk about nature. So this is how well you can recall plants, wildlife, and I didn't know this, but weather patterns also are nature. You can predict the weather with nature, and I've just been sitting here using Druidcraft to do that for me.
Yeah, I mean, you can, but I have a real beef with nature.
Oh,
it needs to be wisdom. It needs to be wisdom.
I agree, 100%. Oh, well, I don't know. See, I think the difference, the reason I can kind of see it being intelligence is because if you're really looking at a plant and trying to identify what that plant is, I feel like that does fall under book smarts more than it does like wisdom. I think applying the plant, which is medicine, is wisdom. But I can kind of see where they're coming from. But let me hear your side.
So here's the thing with this. The people that want to take nature, aka druids and clerics and a couple other ones, they don't have fucking int. We don't have int.
No, we don't.
They don't do that. So the thing is, yes, I can see that intelligence can be, but I feel like it's interchangeable because, like, if you were taught these kinds of things as like a medicine or if like a medicine person and stuff like that, it was wisdom because they learned through the applications and stuff like that because the wisdom of somebody teaching these things to them, and they are like, this is how this plant works with other people. This is how, I mean, like, it's like civilizations and stuff like that. It's not necessarily intelligence that does it. It's just the common sense of, I saw, poor Jimmy eat this plant before, and that guy, he didn't do good after that. And then, like, it's just, and then, like, to understand the different things, like, I just feel like it needs to go into wisdom just because you never have a druid that has high nature, and it's really sad.
So, I see your argument, but I do believe, this could be mistaken, I've heard it through the grapevine, that in the 2024 player handbook, druids are actually going to be able to add their wisdom to their nature.
Thank God.
Yeah, I've heard, and clerics also, with the next one we're going to talk about, can add their wisdom to religion. So we're finally going to have druids with nature and clerics with religion.
Yeah, the only other person that doesn't, I think, needs it is Ranger, because Ranger, your whole thing's about nature, and they're like, I don't know nothing.
Nothing.
And you're like, well,
what is this plant that I have spent my whole life ranging around?
I have been around these plants. What does it do?
Who knows?
I know. This is my favorite terrain, though, so I know everything about the terrain. But this plant,
except for this plant,
I know. These types of animals that live in here. Fuck if I know.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Overall, I don't think this is one that gets brought up enough. I feel like if you're playing a ranger or a druid or even like some kind of, I don't know, medicinal healer, I've seen some rogues or wizards that take that route where they want to like heal with the healer feat. I could see this being your bread and butter to like collect plants, but overall, I don't really see it used that often.
Cleric of the nature domain?
Yeah.
That's about it.
But as we were talking earlier, religion. This is recalling lore on deities and religions. I'm just gonna say it. I feel like I've been playing D&D for over 5 years, and I feel like I've seen a grand total of 3 religion checks.
Yeah. It's really, the only time I really see it is like if you see iconic depictions of different deities. They'll be like, there's a picture of this like a certain type of picture. Let's say it's a dragon with platinum colors, and they'll be like, people will be like, what deity is that? They'll be like, well, roll an intelligence check or a religion check to figure out, or like maybe an obscure god that you'll kind of see like different iconography for. That's usually about it. Not a whole lot.
I have an opinion on why we don't see a lot of religion checks. I think it's because DMs as a whole know that the religious people can't make religious checks. I think now with the new handbook, when clerics can start actually making religion checks, I think we're going to see them a lot more. Now that the actual person they're aimed at can use them.
It's kind of one of those weird things where history can get mixed up with it, because you'll be like, what do I know of these different religions? It's like, well, that also happened in the past, so you could also use history for it instead of religion.
Which I feel like is what most people do.
Yeah, the only thing I could say for religion is like if you see like rituals or like a certain item that is used for religious purposes, that would only be specifically for religion, but you don't see those very often.
No, you don't. And most of the ritual stuff we can also cover with Arcana, which I'm just now realizing did not make it on my list. We almost skipped Arcana.
Good thing we did it.
So let's talk about that. Since religion is useless, we know it's awful until new player handbook comes out. Let's talk about Arcana. This is like your ability to have knowledge of different magics and kind of what they do, kind of how they're used and whatnot. So this is a great skill. I love Arcana.
100%.
I feel like it's what religion wishes it was.
Yeah, Arcana is anything to do with magic, magical beasts, what spell was just cast on you. It is all encompassing. It is powerful. It's just too strong.
It's so
rogues. Don't neglect your Arcana.
Take it.
Don't
take it. Just do it.
Take it. You want to know what kind of, because like you can know there's a trap, but if you don't have Arcana and it's a magical trap, you're gonna know nothing about it.
Nothing.
So magical traps. Very useful for you rogues. So you could be like, oh, that's a glyph of warding. Don't set that off.
And also, outside of the rules, I want to know if you've heard about this. This is a house rule that I've encountered, I think, twice. It's not one I use in my games, but I can see why people would. So later in the game, we get access to a lovely spell called Counterspell. And I have seen it where DMs have asked their players to make an Arcana check to know what the spell is to counter it. Have you heard of this?
I have not. Counterspell is basically just a fucking throw all at it. Right. But I can understand, because you're like, you wouldn't understand what type of spell is being like cast. Like, you don't know if it's going to be a fireball or a power word kill, so you don't know. Like, what is the incantation? So Arcana to recognize what types of spell is being used. I could see
quickly
it.
So that you can counterspell it. But so I've seen that, and I understand why I don't do it. But I mean, people, if you're out there and you have a really hardcore DM, just know that that's probably something they're going to do to you. So just be prepared for it.
Yeah, Counterspell is a very powerful spell. I would say it's one of those top ones next to the bane of all DMs' existence, Silvery Barbs.
Oh, Jesus. I honestly, as a DM, I don't mind Silvery Barbs that much, because I feel like most of the time, and here's why, people, most of the time when people use it, it's either A, on a really low-level enemy, and they're just trying to negate some damage, in which case, oh no, you used a spell slot to negate all of, 6 damage, right? Or it's against a big boss, and they've got, a plus 12 to hit, so it's like, oh no, I have disadvantage with my plus 12. So, I mean, I understand. I think giving the advantage is actually where that spell shines so well.
Yes,
it's
does.
Like a two-pronged attack.
Yeah. Silvery Barbs is a very powerful spell. My hot take is it should have just been kept as a bard spell, because it is a fantastic bard spell. I don't think that sorcerers should have got available to it, nor maybe warlocks, but I don't think sorcerers.
I think it fits warlock. I don't think it fits sorcerer. I think it should have been a second level spell. Personally, I think at second it would have been a great. I don't think it would have been too powerful.
I agree with that. I think Silvery Barbs is one of those incredibly powerful, but as you said, if you're going to be using a boss that has a plus 20 to hit, it is most likely not going to do anything. But it is good to use for saves and stuff like that. Yeah. I think it's a good one to throw on.
And later down the line, we are going to tackle every single spell in 5e, so we're going to give you a lot more in-depth as to what exactly Silvery Barbs does and why DMs hate it so much, why I think it's probably the most universally banned spell in 5e.
Yeah.
Because DMs they really hate it. It's not even they slightly dislike it. They hate this thing.
Yeah, you're either a DM that just rolls with the punches and say, yeah, whatever, or you're one of those ones that just be like, Silvery Barbs.
Shakes fist at Strixhaven book.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that should be all of the intelligence now. Now that we didn't forget Arcana, please forgive us intelligence. And that brings us to Wisdom. Wisdom is my favorite ability. So I normally have pretty high on all of these, and I love them. The first one is Animal Handling. I feel like when this one was written, it was made to be for, handling a horse, or, how you can, buy a dog or something, and the Mastiffs. I feel like that's what it was intended for, and it just became this thing where everyone uses it at every squirrel that they see, every animal that is anywhere in the vicinity. Everyone has to make an animal handling check to make it their best friend.
Yeah, people use it for freaking monsters. They're like, but that Displacer Beast pup is so adorable!
So cute!
I can change it!
Oh my... Yeah, they do. Animal handling is used literally every other session, I feel like, if you're in, like, a wilderness environment. It is overused, in my opinion. I feel like everyone wants to tame everything, says the one whose current character is kind of a summoner with a bunch of different things. But I mean, I get it. I use it the same way. It's one of those that even if you don't take proficiency with it, you will probably use it at least once in your campaign, because there will be something cute that you want to tame.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes it's going to be a monstrosity. You're just like, it's an animal. They're like, it's a monstrosity. But I can tame it, right?
Right? I mean...
Right? The baby beholder is adorable. Just let me take it.
It's so cute. Come on, DM. Let me tame it.
I'll call him Nibbles. He'll be adorable.
Absolutely. I will call him Nibbles. I think the only thing I can think of, like, that I don't want to say I would try that with, but I have tried that with, is with, like, a Tressum, because those are actually classified as monstrosities, but you better believe I tame them every time I see them, because Tressums are, like, my favorite D&D kind of, like, familiar level animal. I adore them. I think they're so cute.
Tressums are great. It's hard to do, because I feel like if they have enough intelligence to be self-aware, does animal handling work on things that aren't that intelligent, or do you try to persuade it to be your friend instead?
That's a hot take. That's a great question. I don't know. I mean, I would imagine that if they were smart enough, if they have, like, what, a 4?
I would say 10.
Because, I mean, like, 6 is, like, the dumbest of people. Like, you're still coherent.
Correct.
You can still form sentences at 6. So I'd say, like, 4 and below animal handling. Anything above that, well, I don't know, because I think dogs are 6.
Yeah, so it's a hard thing. Yeah. I think is, like, if they are being able to communicate and have, like, self-aware, like, they know that they are a person and that they can, like, do certain things. They have a personality. Not saying that, like, other animals don't have a personality, but, like, they are able to cognitively, like, know that they are a sentient beast and that they have self-awareness, then it's probably might have to do a persuasion check for it to do, like, go with you. It's one of those, again, it's one of those up to your DM's discretion.
Absolutely.
Is it a persuasion or is it an animal handling?
Yeah,
and I think, like, you can argue either way.
Tressum has an intelligence of 11, but I would still probably count that as, animal handling. But then you look at, like, I wouldn't go up to someone whose brain is a potato with an 8 and count that as animal handling. So it's definitely a weird situation where it could be anything.
Could be anything.
We can do whatever you want.
Yeah, so certain animals out there are smarter than certain humans that are out there in the world. So it's like, is it a persuasion or is it animal handling?
I once played a campaign with a ranger. He did a Beastmaster. He should have done Drake Warden because he had, like, a pseudo dragon as his pet. But we were like, you know what, rule cool, go for it. And his pseudo dragon had, like, a 12 intelligence or something. I can't remember what the Beastmaster stat was. And he had, like, an 8, and we're just like, who's the real character here, and who's the companion?
The pseudo dragon just took a human pet. It was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna have do I do what he says? Yeah, because I think it's fun.
Yeah, he tells me what to do, and I decide if it's the correct course of action, and I'm like, you know what? Yes, this might have some validity to it. The other way animal handling, outside of just taming every single animal you come across, can be used is if you're doing mounted combat. Now, we are not going to get into the rabbit hole that is mounted combat on today's episode, But we will eventually, but that's just if you're riding a horse and, people are attacking it, you're doing risky maneuvers, you might be asked to make an animal handling check. And I believe if you get anything that makes you move, so like if someone shoves you or a spell that moves you, you'll make an animal handling check, and I think the DC is like 19 to stay on your horse. So Cavaliers, enjoy your like advantage and +5 to that, I think. Cavaliers are also crazy.
My favorite, and this is just if you want to make your DM incredibly furious, get a griffin. Just get your mounted combat be a griffin, and then your DM's gonna be like, now I have flying on top of that. Ugh.
Do you want to know what the absolute worst part about mounted combat is? That I honestly think is the dumbest. So one, you can use your mount's speed, right? And
Correct.
then you can have your mount, with no action to yourself, use the disengage action, and it counts for both of you. How crazy is that? You can just run in with like 100, and you can have like 120 movement speed, attack something like 15 times because you're a fighter as a cavalier, have it disengage, and then leave without an attack of opportunity.
Yep, because it's forced movement.
Insane.
Enforced movement does not make you hit a attack of opportunity on you because you're being forced to move because of your mount. It is crazy, but Cavaliers I feel are very niche because you are probably not going to ride your horse in the middle of a dungeon.
I am currently in a campaign with a Cavalier, and we walked into a cave. And the first thing the DM says is, "What are you doing with your horse?" The first thing the Cavalier says is, "How tall are the roofs?" And he's like 6 feet, or 6 to 10 feet, somewhere in there. And he's like, "Cool, I can ride my horse." And we're just like, "What?" And so we literally just went through this cave, clicking and clacking with those hooves.
I feel like if you're going to do that kind of a thing, that's going to be an animal handling to get a horse to go down a cave, because a horse is going to be like, no, unless it's a divine steed. I get that. They're like celestial beasts. They're like, yeah, whatever, I'll do whatever you say. But like a wild animal, a horse ain't going to go in a cave willingly. It's
like,
gonna be like
pitch black
You
cave.
want me to what? Yeah, it's like, you want me to what?
Yeah, it
No.
was absolutely crazy. But that character is busted, let me tell you. If you're looking for a busted character and you like animals, Cavalier.
I've seen some really busted ones with like Pegasus,
Pegasi?
or
I don't know.
Pegasuses, whatever. I think
Add
it's
us
Pegasus.
add us at subreddit r/IntModPod for if it's Pegasuses or Pegasi or any other iteration of such.
It's just one a Pegasus or mini Pegasus.
Is it just Pegasus?
Just plural.
Is Pegasus
I think
both
it
singular
is.
and plural?
I think so. I think it's one of those. But then Griffins, is another one. I love Griffin. Personally, I love Griffins. I think
They're so
Griffins
cute.
they're the best. They are great creatures, and I swear to God, if you kill Griffins, I'm coming for you. I mean, what? No.
I love a Griffin, but I think what I like more is a Hippogriff. But only like...
Hippogriffs are cute.
I like them in like, the super woodsy kind of Sylvan Fae looking Hippogriffs where they have like the antlers.
Yeah,
that's the style I'm looking for. I love that.
I agree with that. Yeah, if you're gonna play like a like a ranger-esque person and you have like a hippogriff mount as a thing, I totally get that. I totally vibe with that.
Yeah.
Or a giant owl. That's another good one I think could be really cool.
Yeah. Oh, that would be sweet.
As I say. But everybody wants a dragon, but understand, dragons are sentient creatures.
Yeah.
Like I said, these are sentient creatures. They are primordial incarnate elements.
That's a persuasion.
You're gonna have to convince this intelligent, like, apex predator to let you ride around on it.
But if that's the fantasy you're looking for, Drake Warden, have fun.
Yeah.
I love Drake Warden. I think it's my favorite ranger subclass. And I'm excited. For anyone who doesn't know, me and Royal have very, very opposing viewpoints on the ranger. So once we get to that, I will have Royal back because we are going to have an absolute smackdown brawl about rangers. And it's going to be so much fun.
Freaking rangers. Just to throw down, like, ranger was one of my first classes. I love them. I do not like current ranger.
No. I'm a fan. But anyhow, we're gonna move on.
We're gonna go on.
We're gonna move on. So the next one is, I will be honest, this is my favorite skill in the game. This is insight. It's not often used by newer players because they don't really see how powerful it can be. But this is your ability to read others' motives and kind of see through their deceptions. I absolutely love insight. I build most of my characters around insight, like their personality. I absolutely adore it. Any situation you're in, anytime anyone is talking to you about anything, ask for a insight check, because people lie so much in D&D. Your DM will lie to you all the time.
Mm-hmm. I also, it's really good to, like, even if they are not doing verbal, the way that they are, like, way they are stance, the way that they are, like, are they shifty, or what are they doing? You can actually gain a lot of information through that with, like, eye movement and stuff like that. Like, do you know what happened to the person? And they're like, they, like, look to, where a secret door is or something. You can insight that out of it.
And, like, I find
nonverbal.
Even in, like, social encounters where you're not trying to just dig up information, you know, it's so good when you're trying to get close to the NPCs, you know? If you're trying to make friends with someone and they seem a little sad, smack down an insight check. Try to find out what's bothering them, because that gives you the ability to help them, which then, in turn, lets them help you.
Mm-hmm. Insight is a very, very good one.
It's my favorite. I will fight to the death for insight. I don't think I've ever made a character that doesn't have proficiency in it, because I like to talk a lot, especially in D&D, and I like to make sure when people talk back that they aren't lying to me, because I'm gullible.
Don't worry. I think Zada actually has a lot of insight. He may not talk the best, but he understands what people are trying to get through.
Yeah, Maraway has a excellent insight as well, because, again, I generally build characters around it, because it is so strong, people. Insight is so good. Yeah. If you are a wisdom character, or even if you're just looking for somewhere to throw your extra proficiencies, if it's available, it's so good. Because it's a skill that if you fail it, there's no repercussions, you know? It's like you're in the exact same place you were before you rolled it.
Correct, and if you are a gullible character like Moraway or Zada have like low charisma, that's Zada. Like he's gonna be looking at you, be like, "Are you trying to screw me over? Are you lying to me?"
Yeah, I feel like both of our characters right now, you know, they're in this new world, and I don't think either of us really trust anyone anymore, because it's like, this place is so weird. So. Yeah. So with that, insight, I give it a 10 out of 10. Would recommend. But with that, we're gonna move over to medicine. How often do you make medicine checks, Royal?
If someone is down and you need to make a medicine check to stabilize them, that is 100 you're gonna see pretty much all the time. The only other time is like if they're poisoned, what poison are they? Are they poisoned? What type of things? Or if you're trying to make a medicine check to see how the person died. That is it, I think.
I think medicine checks are completely negated by literally anyone with a healing spell.
Yes.
However, I think medicine negates the use of Spare the Dying. If you have high medicine, you don't even need Spare the Dying, everyone. It looks amazing until you really start getting into D&D a lot and realize how easy it is to pick someone up from being unconscious. I feel like Spare the Dying should bring them back with 1 health. I think that would be a balanced spell.
I would say the bonus that is Spare the Dying is that you can do it from ranged.
Can you?
Or at least, I think. I think if you're a
Grave Cleric, Grave Cleric can. Yes.
Grave Clerics can. I think that it should just be a ranged spell, and should just be a bonus action.
I don't think it should be ranged for everyone. I think Grave Cleric should get it arranged, but I do agree that it should be a bonus action for everyone. I think that would be appropriate, because, I mean, it does... It's so much. It's taking up a cantrip spot. Like,
it is taking up a cantrip spot.
That's why I'm saying I would be fine with it giving 1 health, because you have to cast it on someone unconscious. You know, it's not like you could abuse that to getting more health. Mm-hmm. But Yeah, I'm not a huge... Look, we're going to get into spells again.
Yeah, we're getting into spells again.
Medicine.
And Grave Clerics. Overpowered.
Grave Clerics are so much fun. I can't wait. Also, Royal is our resident cleric, so he will also be with me for clerics, where we will probably agree on everything. So we'll have Rangers and Clerics, our two very divisive episodes, one where we will be best friends and one where we will be duking it out. Mm-hmm. But anyway, medicine, I don't think it's that good. I don't think it's worth taking a proficiency in. It's super niche. If you when you use it and it works, it's amazing. Like, you can do some great things, but it's so niche and it's not going to come up very often.
Yeah, if you wanna get the healer feat, again, feat that's coming out. If you want to get the healer feat, so you can do like heals, you're gonna want medicine. That's other than that, medicine is going to be basically down to how do they die, are they poisoned, and usually if they are poisoned, they're usually dead. So you can just that's really all you're gonna get for medicine.
I think it has great... medicine is great for a roleplay character. If you're not too worried about being the strongest, but you want your character to, like, have that, like, medicine knowledge, it's great for roleplay. I've played characters where I've had a lot of fun role-playing with medicine, you know, like, finding, like, lost children and doing my medicine checks to make sure that they're okay. But again, none of it was necessary. It was pure roleplay, and for a roleplay character, I love it. For I want to be really, really good and have the best skills, this is not it.
Definitely not. I would say it's one of those very low on the scale.
I put it 1 out of 10.
Yeah, I would agree on that one.
But on the opposite spectrum, the 10 out of 10, the absolute best skill in D&D 5e is perception. This is your ability to spot or hear things. This is how you perceive the world around you. Listen, you are going to do this check at least 30 times a session.
At least.
I
mean, it is really good. So good that a lot of people, because everybody gets it, they're like, could I use perception instead of investigation?
Perception is so strong. This is like, there's a rustling in the bush over there. I'm going to use perception to see what it is before we get jumped, and boom, now you have information. This is, you hear something in the distance. I want to use perception to kind of eavesdrop and see what's going on. It has combat implications. It has out of combat. It has explorational. It has social. It does it all.
Yeah. It is definitely one of the ones that you are going to want to take, and it is something that you can just make exponentially stronger with magical items and feats. You can just be a perception god.
Yes, if you're a rogue and you're taking your expertise, this is a great one. Rogues and bards, this is a great place to put all of your eggs in one basket, because perception will never steer you wrong. There will never be a situation where you think to yourself, man, I wish I didn't take this expertise in perception. Never.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, if your DM likes to do watches at night, perception is going to be your go-to stat for night, for like if anything's going to sneak up at you at the night and when you're taking watches. So another good one. I agree with certain DMs about this is if you don't have dark vision, how are you going to perceive something in the darkness? So so some people will give you disadvantage and stuff like that because you cannot really perceive. You can hear it, yeah, but then you're only using half of your senses to do it. So you might also want to get, if you don't have dark vision and you have perception, you might want to get those goggles of dark vision.
Yeah, or another great option is be a warlock, because then you can get it as an invocation.
Yeah, I
are there any feats that give that? I don't think there are. There should be.
Dark vision? No, that's why
be.
There should be, but goggles of night.
Technically, you could get it with Eldritch. Is it Eldritch Adept? Is that what it's called, where you get an invocation?
Eldritch Adept.
So you could get it that way through a feat, but honestly, I don't think I would recommend doing it that way. If you're gonna go ahead with that, since 2024 gives you invocations at level 1, literally just take an extra level in Warlock, because then you're gonna get extra stuff.
Yeah, get those goggles of dark vision, because goggles of dark vision do not count as a what is it called? A slot,
Attuned.
Attunement slot. It is a free little thing that you can just be like goggles.
Yes.
And I'm done.
We love free magic items that don't interact with our attunement slots.
I would say it is by far, I think, a way overlooked magical item, and I would say if you do not have dark vision, get yourself some goggles.
Yes.
You may look silly as hell, but you can see in the dark.
So as I talk about how if you have the option to take perception, you better. I just looked at Morroway's character sheet, and I don't have perception proficiency.
Zada has it. Don't worry.
Oh my god. Well, I mean, he's airheaded, and I wanted him to be like oblivious to everything. So I mean, story-wise, it made sense, but
he chooses not to
choice.
see it. He's just like he's got his blinders on.
A choice I made with that. Next up, we're going to have survival. So this is one that we talked about a little bit when we talked about nature. This is your ability to track people, finding food and shelter in the wilderness. Honestly, this, again, I find as a DM interchangeable with nature most of the time. But when it comes to tracking people, this is where you're going to go, unless you're using investigation. I think this is a weird one, because I feel like everything it does, another skill can also do. So this is kind of like getting nature and investigation, kind of both at the same time, but only for specific things.
And a little bit of medicine, because, will that food poison me?
Who knows?
Will this berry kill me?
So this one's a little bit all around, but I don't think it's like a super great skill. I feel like every time I've had to use it, it's literally been only to track people. And I rarely make characters that are like trackers, so that might be why I never use it. But, I mean, if your whole shtick is that you're like a bounty hunter or something and you're literally hunting people, this might be a great go-to for you.
I really enjoy some of the flavor that's thrown, because a lot of people think of it as like a wilderness thing, but I have seen a few DMs use survival in a urban setting, because you are like, hey, how do I find a person? Like, where would a person go in a very like downtrodden area if they're trying to hide? And the DM's like, well, run a survival check. Can you figure out where like some like shady people would go?
Love it.
Think about it.
Yeah, that's absolutely viable. So yeah, this is not just, in the wilderness. This is, finding shelter. That could be finding a good spot in an alleyway if you can't afford a room. So, I mean, it's got some great qualities. But again, I feel like a lot of things do better, because even finding a good place, I feel like you could use perception for that too.
Correct. I think this is another one where, as a player, when you have experience, you can decide how that survival is being used in a more proficient way. Like a safe spot in a dungeon, a good place to go in the middle of a town, or something of that nature. It depends on like how, since it can branch out into many different things, it's how well you can interpret that skill into other things.
Yeah, one point I like to make about Dungeons & Dragons is that you are only limited to your knowledge of the rules and how you can use that knowledge for your advantage, right? If you know how to bend these rules, you're so powerful. That's when you become a really good D&D player, is when you know the rules well enough that you can bend them without breaking them.
Yeah.
So that's it for Wisdom. Overall, in my opinion, Wisdom has the best skill list. Mainly
right there with Dex.
Mainly because like Insight and Perception are both in there, and I feel like those two are just so strong.
Perception and that one. I think the only other one, like I said, is probably Dex, because you have Stealth and Sleight of Hand. And so like Perception and Stealth are the two that you are going to use probably the most. I think those are probably the most common skill checks. Yep. Depending on your character. If you're a bard, we're going to get into Charisma. This is where you are going to shine. Bards and some rogues. Deception. Warlock.
And Warlock, yes.
Warlock, too.
And I guess Sorcerers, but they should be Constitution.
They should not have the ridiculous... I agree. I think they're, again, too many Charisma stuff. Sorcerer does not need to have all that.
Yeah, because to me it's like, what about having a certain bloodline automatically makes you... a charismatic genius. Nothing.
Yeah, the only thing I would say, like, the only subclass that I would work for is dragon. Like, dragon lineage, because you are a descendant of, like I said, a apex predator, a beautiful creature, and, like, I would say that could be charisma.
My counterpoint, there are very few charismatic dragons out there.
True. That is, you are true. I would say that. It's like mostly I would say it would be the metallics.
Yeah, the metallics and like two of the gem ones. I think there's two gems that are like the crystal, I think, and then I think topaz maybe are very. I know crystals love being around people almost as much as the metallics do, but yeah, sorcerers. I don't get it.
I also agree, but also on that note, they changed gold now so that they're kind of like, don't talk to me. I don't want to talk to you guys. I may be good. Yeah, golds are changing. Golds now, they like to settle in old, like ancient civilization places. That's where they like to make their nests, and they don't really like to interact with people anymore. They're like the wardens, right? And they're just like, don't talk to me. I'll talk to you if I really need you, but don't come to me.
Did they update all the have they released all the dragon updates?
They have released a lot of them. If you look at the thing, I just watched the video for it, but they made it so that golds are now very serpentine. Yeah, they made it so they wanted to make them like a counter to reds. So reds are supposed to be the big flyers. They're like, well, golds now will wrap around a red, preventing them from flying and being able to take them down. And I was like, I like it. And like they're like, yeah, now they nest in like forgotten civilization places. I was like, okay.
Interesting.
So,
I'm going to have to look that up. I'm very curious about this because I love a lot of the dragons in D&D lore, especially Crystal. Crystal dragons are my favorite, so I just hope they didn't change them too much.
Oh, here's a question for you. Yeah. What's your favorite dragon type?
Oh, Crystal.
Like, who's your favorite color? Crystal?
Crystal.
Mine's silver.
I love silver. I wish
favorite.
they weren't cold, though. Cold just kind of anti.
Yeah.
And I love blue. I think blue is really pretty, but Crystal, for me, they're friendly, they're nice, they do radiant damage, and, I love the radiant stuff. I think it's a lot of fun. So for me, it's Crystal all the way.
It's always been silver. I love silver. Although my favorite dragon is still platinum, but that's just because he's my favorite god.
The one and only.
The one and only Bahamut.
Now that we're done with that tangent, deception. This is how well you can lie about things. This would be like if I was trying to say that sorcerers deserve to be charisma casters. That's a lie. How well can I deceive you into believing that I believe that? This is so good. If you have great deception, there is no door that's locked to you if you're creative enough. But I feel like a lot of charisma, you have to think outside the box. You have to be creative to use a lot of the charisma skills.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's one of those ones with deception. Here's a hot take. Don't be this person a lot. I mean, it's okay to do it sometimes, but there are those rogues that like to try to deceive the party. And then they're like, I want to roll a deception check to deceive my entire party that I'm not going to do this thing. And it's like, are we going to do this? Are we going to do this?
If you're trying to deceive the party, it should only be for, like, background story reasons. But at the end of the day, you should not be rolling against your party. Because this is a team game. We are here to be a team. We know what we're signing up for when we sit at a table. We know what this is. So, I mean, yeah, it's okay to do it occasionally. But if you're just constantly trying to keep the entire story from the other characters, what that comes off as is very main character syndrome. Like, you're the only one who can know what's going on. And the rest of the group is just going to get frustrated with you.
Yeah, I agree. Don't be that person. It's okay to do it occasionally with certain things. I like when certain people I know Critical Role does when certain people are doing insight on you. You can like roll deception or persuasion, but don't tell me which one you're using. I like that. But you don't have to. Don't fight your party. Don't fight your party.
On that rogue, because it's always a rogue that does this. We talked about sleight of hand, and I thought about bringing it up then. But if you're stealing from your own party, they're gonna catch you. They're gonna see you using their equipment, and all that's gonna do is cause trouble. You're the only one having fun with it. Don't do it. This is a team game.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
The only time it was cute right now is in Critical Role, where Fern and what's Talison's character?
Oh no, I would have known until you asked me.
Right? It's just because Talison's character right now is the barbarian, and his name is totally blanking. But anyways, they do friendly steals when they're like hugging each other, and then they'll just kind of wear it, and then they'll be like, "I got you," and they'll be like, "I got you." That's cute. That's cute. That's adorable. You can do that.
Yeah, it's a situation though where talk to your team. If you want to be this deceptive person, talk to them. They might be totally on board with you always deceiving them. I doubt it, but they might. In which case, just talk to them. You know, a lot of this, if you're rolling against the party, it should never be a situation where only one person is wanting to roll against the party. You know, if you're initiating combat with someone who doesn't want to fight you, you're not doing this right. Player-wise, at least. If you're initiating against an NPC who doesn't want to fight you, screw them, murder them, do what you gotta do. But, like, if you're rolling against players and they don't want it, it's not fun. They're not having fun. You're making it to where everyone at the table feels weird. Don't do it. But yeah, deception, I see it all the time. It's so good. If you're a charismatic character, at some point you're going to have to deceive someone. And you don't want to get caught in it.
Ashton Greymore. Ashton Greymore.
Yeah, you don't want to get caught in a deception, though, because then you're in big shit.
Yeah, don't fight against your party. You are there for a reason. If you're going to make a Mary Sue or super emo edgelord, you don't go play by yourself. Go play an RPG.
Something I said with Kara is my absolute brutal session 0, I say this all the time, is that if you make a character that can't work with the team, you have made a bad character and need to make a new one.
You can definitely do edgelord well. You can do the Lone Ranger kind of stuff. Like, I am doing this to do a certain thing and then having them interact. One of my favorite characters that I did personally was a Blood Hunter, and he was Path of the Lycan, and he didn't want everybody to know that he was cursed, and he was very by himself. But at the same point in time, he worked like he was like, I am a Lone Ranger, I am a lone figure because I murdered everybody when I first turned into a Lycan, so I don't want to get close. But at the same point in time, he was still there for the party. He was the protectorate. He was in the front lines. He was protecting people. He didn't really want to get close, but at the same point in time, and he was hiding that fact, but he was still in the party actively trying to help people because he's like, I need to fulfill goals in this group to do what I need to do, and I may be closed off, but I still interact with everybody because that's what you do as a person. You still interact with people around you. Yeah, so I mean, what it comes down to is if you're a lone wolf, be able to work with the group. If you can work with people, your character's probably fine. But if you can't work with people, why are you playing a multiplayer game? Yeah. You can do it. It's difficult, but understand you're still going to have to interact with people to get your goals done. And if you just were like, oh, I don't want to interact with everybody, then that's not a character you should be playing. Find something else.
And also, people aren't going to want to sit there and like split the party and you sit there playing by yourself while like the 4 other people who are in the table with you just sit there watching you play. Like, that's not fun. No one wants to sit there and watch you play a solo game.
It's fine to do it on occasion, but don't do it all the time. If you're doing it every session or every other session, you're doing it wrong.
And I would like to point out, this is week 2 of almost the same conversation. This is how important this is to like work with the group. This is very important. Like, this is how awful it feels when people don't. As D&D players, we've experienced it so many times. It's so bad. No one has fun. Please play a character that works with people.
Yeah, like you may have noticed that like Zada trying to do his own thing, but I would not have done anything. I was just like, hey, if you guys want to go run, because Zada does like, I don't want to do this stuff, but if you want me to go do these things, I will catch up to you right quick. Zada was not going to do anything in that time. He was just going to be like, I delivered, I met you guys up with that.
Yeah.
Because that's all he was going to do.
Yeah. So away from deception, because I think we all kind of know the general gist of it, we're going to move to intimidation. This is how you scare the bejesus out of people. Right? You want to be intimidating. Now, this is one of those that Rule of Cool can really have a lot of fun with. And that's because, as a charisma skill, you can use it as charisma, but I don't think I've ever met a DM who will not let you use your strength modifier for it. Because if you're a big, strong person, that's intimidating. And I've also seen people allow con modifier for this one, because, you know, that still implies that you are big, you know, healthy, very fit. So I have seen both of those be allowed to be used in intimidation. So that would be the only time con is going to help you with the skill check, if your DM allows it.
Yeah, and strength too, because strength has athletics.
Athletics. You get 1, and I guess now 1.5.
Yeah, I agree. Intimidation needs to, I don't think necessarily, like, it can be charisma, because you could be like, you can do subtle words to intimidate people, so charisma can be done, but you can also be an imposing presence.
Something they've done with the 2024 is they've actually made that part of the barbarian class. Like, if they're raging, they can do that. I don't like that, only because I feel like it should have been like that for everyone, you know, because a fighter is just as scary as a barbarian. You know,
also
a big
agree.
paladin, well, granted, paladins are also going to have charisma, but if they have more strength, you know, that's still an intimidating force that you're staring down.
Correct. I agree. I think it should be interchangeable. It can be done either way. You're not going to get crazy amounts of stuff by intimidating people. And you can also remember, if you do intimidate everybody, there can be repercussions.
Oh, yeah. People aren't going to like you. You're not going to make friends.
Correct.
Everyone's going to be afraid of you, and if you intimidate enough people, they might just band together and come after you.
And yeah, exactly. They might like hire somebody to take you out or get you out of there and stuff like that. So just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. That's also what I should say with deception. Just because you do, if you are known for just lying all the time, people are going to look at you all the time like, this guy's just
you're going to have a reputation of being a liar, you know, and no one's going to believe you. And if you're just nothing but intimidation, you're going to show up and everyone's going to show up with bodyguards so that they can't be intimidated by you. So these are ones that you want to use sparingly. You don't want to use them all the time, because then unless you're doing like a villain playthrough, if you're running as villains, absolutely use both of them every single time. But if you're trying to be good heroes, this probably isn't your bread and butter, unless you're talking to like bandits, in which case scare them. Next up is the most self-explanatory one in the whole thing, and that's performance. This is how well you can perform. This could be musical instruments, this could be a dance, this could be like juggling, this could be literally anything, as long as you tell your DM that it's a performance. You know, it could be like a speech, which normally would be persuasion. You could persuade your DM to let you use performance for that. I see this all the time. If you have a bard in your group, or literally anyone who's just silly, this is going to be there all the time. Anyone with musical proficiencies, performance. Anyone who grew up and ran away and grew up in the circus, performance.
Yep, inspiring speeches can be done as performance. You can do quite a different thing. I've seen sometimes like a performance for like showing up to a ball, how well your entrance is, how well you are performing in front of people and stuff like that to show your thing. Or a performance to show, like, if you're impersonating somebody, how well are you performing as that person. I've seen some people do that. It's a very versatile skill. Again, it's one of those, how well can you flavor it, and the knowledge will just make it better.
Yeah, this one's going to get better as you as a player level up. You know, the stronger you as a player, the stronger your performance rolls are going to be, because it can be used for so many things, and it's just amazing. It's a great skill. I like it.
Yep.
All right, now go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, the last one I've seen for performance is how well, like, you can fake, like, if you want to play dead,
Oh yeah.
How well can you perform that you are dead?
I've seen that.
That. Like, oh, down on the floor,
dramatically
dead.
falling to the ground.
How well did you convince them that you are dead? You're like,
I love it.
So, yeah.
Our last skill for the day is going to be persuasion. How well you can get people to do what you want them to. Now, this is kind of like the complete opposite of deception. Whereas deception, you're trying to get them to do what you want by lying. Persuasion, you're going to be using the truth. But it's just as powerful. I honestly think it's more powerful because you're going to get more friends from it. You just have to make sure you're telling the truth when you do it.
Yeah. I agree. It is one of the skills that you are going to be using a lot. How well can you convince people to see... And my way of doing it is how well can you convince people to see your point of view? That's what you're trying to do.
100%. I gave this a 9 out of 10. It's really good. I love it. If you've got, high charisma, you should get some persuasion because you can get into places that most people can't because you can just persuade people to believing that you can.
Mm-hmm. How well can you say, like, you don't belong here, but I think I do because...
Yeah, as long as it's not a lie. Persuasion.
Yeah, persuasion.
So those are all 16 of the skills. We almost skipped Arcana, but look, I almost forgot it again, even though it's such a good one. But we got it in there. So with that, I know I've very vocally said that Insight is my absolute favorite skill, and I can't remember if you had said yours. What is your absolute favorite skill in D&D?
Arcana.
Arcana? Oh, the one we almost skipped.
I love Arcana just because you can get a lot of information from Arcana checks.
Yes.
You can get, not like I said, it encompasses anything with magic. Magical beasts, traps, spells, enchantments. All these things can fall under Arcana.
Yeah, I feel like Arcana is almost the same as, Investigation, but it's a lot more dangerous. Like, Investigation, you're kind of looking for clues. Arcana, if you're making an Arcana check, it's probably tampering with something very dangerous.
And my favorite archetype, one that I'm not playing right now, is usually I want to say like a dungeon delver and explorer. I love those people that love to tinker with magical things. Mm-hmm. They're like, ooh, magic, I'm going to touch it. And it's like, oh, God, what have you done? And you're like, I love it, though.
I also love like a rogue skill monkey that just goes into the dungeons, finds all the traps. I think that's a fun character. And I feel like it's very underrated, People don't understand how powerful a person who touches cursed item is. That's such like a valid and very needed member of the group.
I agree. I love like ancient explorer or dungeon delver or just like an archaeologist of some sort. Those are like my other favorite kind of characters because they're just like, magic! Do I know it's magic? Yes. Do I know exactly what it does? No. But I want it.
I want it.
I want it.
Yes. I think my favorite, which I'm not playing this time also, is, I love playing I'm trying to think of a nice way I like playing pompous nobles. Like, I know we have, like, Seraphina and Eidos, but I like to be an asshole noble. I'll still work with the group, but I love using nobility as a way to just be rude and, not mean, but rude. And because I think it's hilarious.
I agree. It is really fun. I'm really going outside what I normally play. I like casters a lot, usually sorcerers. I do love sorcerers, even though I do not agree about the sorcerer charisma. But we love
sorcerers, even though we just spent a 15-minute speech trash talking them and reading them to filth.
I love their flavor. I love what they bring to the table in terms of like role play and everything like that. And I love me meta magic. I love me
What's
meta magic.
What's your favorite subclass?
Or sorcerer?
Yeah.
Dragonline. I love Dragonline. I
love
Clockwork
Dragon
Soul
Lineage or Divine Soul. I think Clockwork is better.
Divine Soul got a real big buff.
It's
I
so
love
powerful.
Divine Soul.
Clockwork,
It's so powerful.
Though, I love the ideology behind it, like the order. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like dragons specifically just because I do love dragons. Again, I wouldn't be playing a fantasy game if I didn't love dragons.
Yeah.
But I'd love that they can become pretty tanky. Like, as a sorcerer, you can get some pretty high AC with the dragon sorcerer and a lot of HP. Yeah, I love it, and I love the new flavors that they give with the 2024. They give them specific spells and stuff like that, and you can summon them.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It is
to
level
delve into
18.
It. I'm ready to delve into it.
Yeah, you could get a dragon. You just I summon a dragon, dragon friend.
I mean, and also a lot of classes have access to I think it's a 6 level spell, summon draconic spirit.
Yes,
so good. I love it.
I love it. It's so flavorful.
It's so good. It's been an absolute blast having you with me, Royal. Everyone, if you want to see us get down to all kinds of D&D debauchery and just shenanigans, head on over to Knights of D20 on both Twitch and YouTube. If you have any questions that you would like us to answer, I will be trying to do a monthly Q&A episode. Drop those questions at the subreddit r/IntModPod. That's one word. And we will get to those questions, and hopefully we can answer some things for you. Outside of that, Royal, do you have anything else for us?
Roleplay. Start doing it.
Do it. Just start. You don't have to be good at it. Just start. Just have
Except
fun.
for being an edgelord or a Mary Sue. Don't do that.
Well, until next time, have a good one. We will see you next time. And until then, may all of your int checks succeed.